Hi and welcome to a new video log with me, Fettouhi, and again we're gonna check out Windows 10 and how far I've gotten so far. This is day 3 pretty much, and I did a full reinstall of the system with the reason that I couldn't do or use a USB drive, so talked about that. Or I could use a USB drive, but I couldn't use the USB recovery drive. But I got it working now, and everything is working so far. Just some tips here on people uh, doing the same thing, upgrading and using the clean reset option and using the recovery drive. I made sec. I made where is it? I made a recovery drive, as I showed you guys on this here USB, 8 gigs. I bought a couple of them, and I made a recovery drive for my system, and did a reset, cleaned, wiped, install again, and everything is working so far. But there are some tricks to getting some apps to work, and I'm going to show you a little bit, or at least my experience so far, and where you can do some stuff around where I found it. So let's switch over here. As you can see, I'm running my desktop pretty much the same as always. Let's minimize the Skype. You don't want to see that. I have pretty much installed everything. You can see I have my VLC, which is pretty much a problem. That's pretty much straightforward, works out of the box. I am running right now, installing my Elder Scrolls. Actually, GOG Galaxy is also working really well. It's actually improved so much that it's actually installing other program files now and working pretty well. I haven't had any issue. I haven't booted up Wild Hunt yet, but that's working also. So the Galaxy is also working. I haven't had issues installing Steam. That boots up fine. I haven't had issues installing Uplay, and I haven't had issues installing MRC. The only thing I had really issues installing is iTunes. But before that, I didn't have any issues with all of these afterwards, because there are some basic steps that a lot of these programs need. So if you I've been working with Windows for many years now, and one of the things I've been working at a company I worked at before was deployment of Windows. So there are some ground rules in deploying Windows to people like users out there, and one of the things is that 99% of all applications out there are using some kind of Microsoft virtual C++ here. And you can see I have a bunch of them installed, and that's pretty much because old apps use 2005, and some use 2008, and some use 2010, and newer apps use 2012, 2013. And because I'm running 64-bit, I need the 64-bit version also. I say it's pretty much a must to install all of these before you install any apps. And I mean any. Any third-party apps will probably not work at all. Especially iTunes, if you don't have these in. iTunes uses actually these two here specifically, and some of the services it's running, Bonjour and some of the others, will actually fail and can't boot if you don't have some of the others installed. I actually don't know which, because it just fails. And on Windows 10 at least, it's not smart enough to install the older ones. I think it actually installs these two here, but then it fails miserably after that. So if you want to have iTunes installed, and I have that because I have an iPhone right now, and I also have an iPad, you must install these here. They are not large. They are pretty easy to find, and some of the they're free out there. Just download them. I actually use a PowerShell script that somebody wrote out there that actually has XML file that looks at it and then just downloads it into a neat file and puts it on my D drive here. Install all this, and games also use this. You will probably see that if you install Borderlands, it will actually some of the prerequisites for installing games are actually one of these. I know Borderlands is one of them. Actually, Elder Scrolls is one of them also. All this here is running on something like this. That's why you need these here C++ installs. So make sure you have them. Download everything. All the other ones, the 2005, 2008, 2010, 12, and 13. And there's not any newer so far that I noticed, but I'll download all those here, and then you will have no problems installing the rest of all this here. That's one major benefit in knowing when you told. And this here is also a thing you should do on any PC. I'm talking Windows 7, Windows 8, or Windows 10. Windows 10 is pretty much more things because a lot of these older apps can figure out the operation systems. For instance, if you have a Samsung disk, I use sometimes rapid mode. As you can see, rapid mode actually says it needs Windows 7 and above to actually work. That's one of the prerequisites to use this function. It actually doesn't work because it can't obtain the version, and that's because it's not programmed to look correctly into the registry. So this will not work. And that's because it needs an update. I'm probably going to have to bug report this here to Samsung at some point. But right now it doesn't really matter. The drive works pretty well. And other stuff like this here. So also, again, just have to mention again, remember drivers. This here is so important if you have NVIDIA. And I'm probably guessing also with with the AMD. Make sure you have the newest drivers out there. And let's see here. Also, if you want some tips to, for instance, if you, I know a lot of people like, for instance, I use Chrome. I use a lot of third-party apps to control stuff like that. I don't use iTunes for my music. I actually use Foobar 2000 for my music. I use VLC to play single files. But all my music actually played in Foobar 2000, which works out of the box instantly with Windows 10. It's pretty solid. But if you want to control your apps, go into settings, go into system, go into default apps, and this is here where you actually choose pretty easily what your standard programs are going to be. So music player, if you have multiple things installed, you choose this one here and we'll boot up here. You have in here Google Chrome. You will also be able to choose default apps by file type, by protocol, and stuff like that. So this is here where you do this. Another thing I want to show you guys is what was it? So make sure that if you are a good thing here for Windows Update is make sure you choose, for instance, the recommended thing, the thing you want. Also, if you want third-party stuff, you need to check this here, and I'm talking about, like, for instance, Skype updates and all that. It's not something this here. If you don't check this, it would not download everything there is in it. For instance, drivers and stuff like that from Intel. Intel actually uploads a lot of things. Also, for instance, Razor actually had updates built into Windows 10. So if you have this checked, it actually will install all this here. There's a couple of things here. Make sure you have this checked if you want Microsoft products also, so you get more updates than usual. If you want to defer upgrades, you can read this here and actually say, well, I am gonna not do upgrades at the moment. And again, use the inside builder. But if you want to be an inside builder, be part of the inside builders, you will need a Microsoft account, and I'm talking about a live account. Another feature, if you are SkyDrive, which doesn't exist anymore, it's actually OneDrive, and you, for instance, want these here to be connected to your OneDrive instantly. Instead of doing the long run of properties and doing all this here with locations and fixing all that, you can actually, through this here and system and storage, you can choose here where you want new documents to point to. So this here actually points to my OneDrive, so automatically once I save something in my documents, it goes into my OneDrive and synchronized up to the cloud. And the same with my pictures. Music I don't do it with, I don't do it with videos because it's pretty huge, some of the things. For instance, this here is going to be a pretty large file recording, but this here is actually pretty neat, a neat feature that they implement with storage. Also, you can check out your storage with here and all that. This here is just pretty much a modern version of actually, but I like this here feature here. Also, notifications areas. If you're, I had some issues where I like to be able to see all my notifications in the corner here. So if you, for instance, right-clicking, choosing properties, and then want to customize your thing, you go into your notifications area, then you want to see here, I know I'm taking the long way, but just showing you what you use pretty much normally do. And you go into select this icon, appears on the taskbar. I have seen, and this here is probably gonna break, this here, at some point, at least until I did a Windows update, it actually closed. This here didn't happen. It closed the window and then it just crashed pretty much. And then you can do it again. The system didn't crash. You can do it again, and it didn't load all these here. But this here is the way. If you want to make everything always on, you need to click this switch here. But if you're running into issues where you can't do this here, be patient. Do Windows updates. Do driver updates. Make sure you have a lot of the right drivers, and there is some graphical issues with this here bar that it fucks up. So after I did fully update everything, then it started working. I hate clicking on the arrow up to see my icons. I want to see the icons always, so I know which apps I have loaded in the background. So that's one of the things. Let's see here, what else do we have of interesting stuff? I have had no issues so far with any of the other stuff. It's pretty stable. I have no issues with licensing. It's actually activated pretty much instantly. I want to say that also I've tried using Katana. Katana works pretty well. She's horrible, just like Siri, so I actually turned her off, but that works pretty well. All drivers works as they should. Date and time also works. Let's see here. If you're a LastPass user like me, that works awesomely. Even the auto fill out, the application works pretty well. It's incredible that it actually works. That was even a huge issue on it. That was a huge issue on Windows 8.1, but it actually fixed it, and now it's actually working also here. Open Broadcaster works pretty much, and they actually did an update. If you go to OBS, and I think they did this a couple of days ago, they actually have a support for Windows 10 now, so the version that you download instantly is also pretty well. If you're an Open Broadcaster user like me, I use it actually for local recording a lot because it's a really good tool to skip between scenes. Like for instance this here, I recommend that you do some twerks with this. It can actually record instantly into MP4 files, so that's pretty awesome also. But the main part of course is streaming, but it actually works as a nice screen recorder also, in my opinion. Let's see here, what else we have. Also, yeah, if you want to try out this here Windows Edge, which is the new version of Internet Explorer, I'm probably going to use it a lot of work because we're Internet Explorer based, but the problem is we're not upgraded to this here. But if you want to do this here, you can see the bar is pretty changed. You can do a sharing instantly. If you go, for instance, to, let's go to this here, and let's see here. Fuck him. I know. He's not a friend of mine. I don't know who he's a footballer in France, but we're not related. But anyways, as you can see here, sharing actually comes apart, and now you can actually share instantly to Facebook and stuff like that, and it will actually share the link here. There's some sharing options coming in. You can go ahead and choose settings here. The settings has changed a lot, but it's going to be more easier, but still a pain in the ass in my opinion. You can do tabs and top side and all that. If you want to advance settings, you can choose this here. Again, I showed you this here. Make sure you can choose Google if you want this here in this here. Also a nice feature is that you can actually drag, clip out stuff, copy it, and then send it to people. You can mark stuff and then share it. So if you want to highlight, for instance, something for a friend or draw something, and this here is actually on a web page. So as soon as you save this here or exit, it's still gonna switch over to here. So it's like it's turning into a drawboard. It's something. It's a collaboration with OneNote. It's actually switching over to OneNote. So this is why it's working. So, but yeah, so that's a feature. I don't know. I'm pretty sure somebody's going to use it a lot. I can't really see myself using it. You have your notifications field over here, which is also where you actually have your favorites bar. You can actually do the pin here if you want. I don't use that crap. So again, as I said, I'm a Google Chrome user when it comes to this, so yeah, it works pretty well. And oh, what else? Again, make sure that you do a disk cleanup, even though after you do after you do your reinstallation, your reset or whatever you do, even if you clean your drive, there might be some some Windows.old. Just clean it afterwards and it will still work. Make sure that you do make a recovery drive, because this is the only way you can revert back to Windows 10 instantly. If your hard drive fails, if you switch motherboards and stuff like that, and you can't boot because the drivers are fucking up. So yeah, but if you don't do this, you can use the recovery option, and you can use your reset here. And this is what I did, because I had to reset because I couldn't do the recovery, and it actually works awesomely. So yeah. So I hope you liked the tips I showed you. If you have any questions, please contact me, tweet at me at Fettouhi, and yeah, that's pretty much it for this time. Thanks for watching. Until next time, bye.